one more question.
Sure.
And maybe I might have one other one if I think of it.
Yeah.
You keep referring back to you don't want to go back 20 years because you don't want people in the industry to think you're 40, and I feel sad that it's 40 seems
It's
so
heartbreaking. It's ridiculous.
But when is a good time to start? Because like I started interning for a radio station and working the board and all that when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and that was 20 years ago, and I'm in my 30s, and so
Right.
I'm not close to 40 yet.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I'm closer to 40 than I am to 25.
Again, I mean, my rule of thumb is I don't go back more than 15 years,
Okay.
whatever the circumstances are. But if the experience from 15 years ago is important and you still want people to know that you did that work, you put that in toward the end of your summary. You say, you know, previous pursuits, I developed these skills. You know, I had a client recently who is going for a job where PR skills could come into play. There is some use for PR skills, even though she's not going for a PR job there. But it's a small company, you know? Again, like you were saying, you work at an 8-person company, and sometimes there's an all-hands-on-deck situation. So she had a PR gig 20 years ago, and she's like, I feel like that's properly targeted. I feel like I need to get that in there. So we put it in her summary, and we didn't say where she did it or when she did it. So, yeah, I just 15 years is plenty.
Well, I want you to know that I recently hired a couple of people, and they are over 40.
God bless you. I hope this is a trend.
I want you all to know that there is hope for you all out there.
I mean, and it's so stupid because unless you know, it's not
just saying that these people get it. It doesn't. I don't think everybody says they need to be on the cutting edge or the tip, and they have to have their pulse in the finger. Blah blah blah. You know what? I mean, I look at what just happened recently with the Grammys. I mean, half the people watching that didn't even know who Paul McCartney was, but they're okay with Chris Brown beating the crap out of them.
Well,
I mean, and that's.
The fact is, you can have both.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But you can. There are 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds out there that do have both, that understand today and yesterday, but understand tomorrow, too.
Well, and the thing is, it's easy to keep your finger on the pulse. Nowadays, it's a cinch. It's not easy to have 10, 15 years of hardcore experience. I mean, especially like, you know, Susan was saying in crisis management. You know, you don't learn how to do that unless you've done it. You know, so.
Well, I did make sure they all had psychiatry degrees as well so that they could help the staff. But no, thank you.
Sure.
I mean, just to add to that, one thing I've done, I mean, my very first job in music industry, honestly, was booking concerts for my college. And I think that's really relevant because in our industry, you want to be as well-rounded as possible because anything can come at you any day. And the more you worked retail, the more even if you did it in a college capacity, it speaks something. So. Yeah. When I was younger, that was an actual entry as a job because I did spend 30 hours a week promoting concerts on my campus. Now it's a line of the activities that I did, and it comes under college.
Yeah.
At college, I led these 5 organizations, and I got a 3
Exactly. So you still get the bump, you still get the boost, but you're not going to make people go, how old is this girl?
Yeah, but seriously, with all the jobs I've had since then, if that's still a feather in my cap at this point, then that doesn't really speak much for the jobs I've done since then. I mean, the things I've done in the last 10 years should be the bright shining stars on my resume. It should not be the college gig that and let's face it, 50,000 other kids at the time, you know, had that gig at their colleges. It's not that special, but it's important to know that, I understand how promotion works, and I know how to throw a
Especially, and the other thing is, I'm big into name dropping. If you can name drop without liability, shall we say, and some of those acts that you worked with back in the day became huge acts, you know, you mention them by name. That's one of those who, what, when, where, why, details, descriptions, all of that stuff. It's like you don't say, you know, I worked with an interdisciplinary team. Well, how many were in the team? That's a number. And what were their titles? You know, again, sometimes that can deliver some nice details that people are like, wow, she worked with them, you know, and somebody remembers that.
A couple of times about, you know, not making them guess your age. So would you say not to put the year that you graduated college on there?
Don't put it.
So you can just say, you know, bachelor of whatever.
And you know what? Yeah. And people are even, this is the problem. Pretty soon, unless you're an infant, you're going to be insecure about this. You know, maybe it's 40 now, tomorrow it's going to be 35 is old. You know the way the culture goes. So I think pretty soon, nobody is going to do it. I think maybe eventually it's going to be like, ooh, there's no year listed for graduation. This person's over 25. Seriously, I think it's just going to keep creeping downward, people who leave that information off of the resumes.
Basically, I was trained on the corporate side to interview people, and I've also been on the flip side interviewing. And I've taken the year I graduated from college off of my resume, but what if you're asked that in an interview? I mean, you can't lie.
Well, and the thing is, I have a friend who just interviewed for a super duper delicious high-powered job, and I'm waiting to find out if she got it. And she's in the interview, and the guy says to her, so do you have kids? He says, I'm not supposed to ask this, but do you have kids? And also asked her, do you really need this job? Meaning, do you come from money? And this person asked her, what year did you graduate? She's over 40. And she told him, and she's like, I'm just glad he didn't ask me what year I started. So, yeah. You have to be prepared for. I mean, there are, you know, back when I was working exclusively at the record companies, and I still do a lot of that. I would interview the artist, I would write the bio, which would go out to the media to get media coverage of the artist, and then we would do media training with the artist, where we would train them to the bio, and whatever it said in the bio, that was the story, and that's how we branded him. It's a consistent story over and over and over again. And I find that there's a lot of analogies in doing resumes. Is you get your story, you stick to it, and a lot of what I'm doing with the clients is training for the interview, because all that information about their strengths and the projects they've done are right at their fingertips. However, there are media trainers, there are resume trainers who will drill you on exactly those kind of uncomfortable questions. I don't know if you guys subscribe to the ladders. Are you familiar with the ladders? Check it out. It's a recruiting thing. Like, if you pay them X amount of dollars, they will start looking for a job for you, and they are famous for placing people in 100K plus jobs. Okay, I don't know how much money you got to spend to get that job or how long it takes, etc. But they have a ton of great free editorial. So you sign up on the free level, and you every week get a little digest with maybe 5 stories, resumes, interviewing, salary negotiations, in-person networking, digital networking. I mean, and they talk about sticky interview questions. So I would highly recommend you guys check out theladders.com.
All right, we're almost at 12:30. I'm going to take 2 more questions, and that's it.
One of the things about being on your own out there as a consultant or something is that you have totally disparate types of things you do. Mm-hmm. I'm a music supervisor for film and television. I've also been the executive assistant and secretary to the executives. I'm also a recording artist, have my own music in film and TV. I mean, it's like, it's scattered all over the boards. And so I'm constantly having to restructure what it is that I'm trying to go for. And also because so many companies now are Googling you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when they see that, I mean, you know, I'm afraid they're all going to think I'm schizophrenic, you know, because I'm Sybil. Because there's so much stuff out there, because I speak on panels and do listening sessions and symposiums and things of that nature. Yeah. And so it's like, if I'm going out for some executive assistant thing, I'm afraid they're all just going to go, and why are you doing this? And
well, this is the thing. You can only control your online presence so much. You've got Reputation Defender and all that stuff out there, and you know, you can take down those spring break and Daytona photos, etc. But so on the one level, people are going to find what they're going to find, and they're going to make assumptions. But what is in your control is the information that you give them, and the way you present yourself is all filtered in a straight line. So you are approaching somebody about doing music supervisory stuff. That's all the stuff you're going to talk to them about. All that other stuff, maybe in that some of it could relate to music supervisor. That comes next. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, you just have to pick the target, however painful it may be. I mean, this is the thing. It's like narrow casting, as they call it, is the way to go. You cannot be a jack of all trades because people won't know what you are. You have to present yourself as one thing to one person to prevent that confusion. And
So if you've got those concurrent things that you've got going,
you have to pick one.
and so you just leave them off of your resume and put that into the.
You don't leave them off necessarily, but you don't expand on it. You don't develop a lot of these nano narratives. You put, you did this work, you've done it for this time, this is what it is essentially, but you don't need to go into a lot of detail about it. You go into detail about what's really relevant. You spin the stuff in the middle, pull out the relevant things. And then the other stuff that's just not relevant to that one target of one, that's placeholder stuff. It's just, this is the name of the company, this is when I worked there, this is what the title was. Yeah, it's a lot of Rubik's cubing your information around.
Last question.
I have a background in print publishing, and I've been laid off 4 times, and I feel like my jobs have gotten sort of progressively worse. And I went from being like a magazine editor to being kind of a proofreader now for people who can't read or write.
Yeah, and God knows they're out there.
I'd like to work at a website, but I don't necessarily have the technical skills, and I'm
Right.
40, so
Yeah.
I have nothing going for me.
Well, this is the thing. First of all, I think people are way too hung up on their technical skills. I mean, when you're looking into getting into digital publishing, it might be a slightly different story. Like you want to be able to learn how to do HTML, et cetera. But one of my clients was so hung up, and she's like, all I know is Microsoft Office Suite. I can kind of fake my way through PowerPoint and fake my way through Excel, and yeah, I can use Microsoft Word. I know how to use Outlook, but that's it. And I sent her a job listing for a top marketing gig, and it was like a Coke or something. It's an entertainment marketing gig, and it said technical skills, Microsoft Office Suite. That's all they needed. You can take courses, and while you're taking courses, put on your resume that you're taking that course. You don't have to have finished it. You don't have to have the certificate. As long as you indicate that you are doing that work, you will get points for that. And again, it's a process of going through all the work that you've done in your print world and going, okay, what of this does apply to the digital world, and pulling that stuff out. And believe me, I feel your pain because I've gone through a similar, those great jobs I had at Geffen and DreamWorks, laid off. So, you know, we've all been there. So. And I also know that you're probably facing crazy competition for proofreading gigs. You know, I mean, I understand that it's difficult, but I think you will be able to position yourself for where you need to go. It's gonna take a little while, and you have to probably develop more skills and say that you're developing more skills.
Julie, any final thoughts?
No, you guys seem to get it pretty well. I have to say, I'm not so, it's not like I'm so surprised, but I can tell by the questions and by your nods of recognition that you understand what I'm saying. So I'm really glad to see that. And I do have cards, and you should email me. I'm much, as Karen and anybody, Susan, people who know me here will tell you, I'm a bad phone person, but I'm a great email person. So I have my card, and if you want to just email me any time with a question, do it.
And how do we find you online?
Well, the website for creative profiles, I have a website called Editorial Emergency, and that's for my branding, my initial branding business. So I'm a copywriter, basically. People don't understand what that is a lot of the time. You guys probably do. A lot of people think it means intellectual property. Like, I wrote a song. Can you copyright that for me? No, but if you have an ad with pretty pictures, Andrea will certainly understand this. I can put the words with the pictures. If you have a website full of images, I can write the copy for the website, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Editorial Emergency. That's the first business that I started. And then the business that I spun off is Creative Profiles, and the URL is kind of weird. It is, well, it's on my card. I'm going to pull it out just to make sure I get it right because it is an offshoot of my partner's website. The recruiter in the creative industry, her name's Kiva Dine, which is kind of a weird, fantastic name. So it's www.kiva, K-E-V-A, Dine, DINE.com/creative-profiles. So I'm the creative profiles gal, and there's a lot of content there. By the way, all our work is custom quoted, so if you're interested in quotes, you got to get in touch with Kiva, and then, you know, we kind of start the whole process of discovery to find out what the deal is, because it all depends. It all depends on what your special circumstances is and what you're trying to do. But I will say that we have an entry-level product called a resume review and critique, which is $275. And I will tell you bluntly everything that is wrong with your resume and what you should do to fix it. And you know, there was a guy, a Rockstar Energy drink, worked there, and I did a critique for him, and he fixed his resume, and he got the job right after that. So you can do it on your own. You don't need me. You really can do it on your own. Sometimes you just need a little bit of guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.